Hi everyone, it's Tania Stacey from Cuppa Tea Channel, the place for all tea lovers, addicts, to build your tea knowledge. Today I'm really excited. I have a guest speaker and I've really enjoyed watching this lady from afar as she's been building her tea knowledge. And what I like about what she's been doing is not only is she out there trying as much tea as she can and getting together with other people and drinking tea, but she's also been reading a lot of the different tea books. And because of that, she has started a tea book review. And I kind of like the way she does her tea book reviews. So let's start chatting with Ella from Chaolyst Tea. She's all the way over on the other side of, I'm here in Melbourne and she's all the way over there on the west coast of America. She's in San Francisco Bay Area. So hi Ella, and thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Goes to show there are tea people all over the world since we're halfway across the world from each other. Clearly my traffic of talking was far less important than the backup that was occurring. So I think we've rectified the situation. Does it sound better now? Good.
So my first question I'd like to start with is, why did you decide to start reviewing tea books?
Okay, why I decided to review tea books. So there are already a lot of blogs that focus on reviewing teas. And while those are interesting, I didn't think that if I did that I would be adding more to the conversation that's happening in the tea community. So I was looking for, well, what are the other gaps and needs? And one of the big ones that surfaced for me was, as a tea enthusiast who is becoming a tea professional, how do I educate myself? What are the resources out there, especially as someone who is, I don't speak Mandarin yet, I'm starting to learn. What are the English language resources? Yeah, exactly. And so I started reading tea books that I could get my hands on, and from that was born writing up my thoughts on them, and eventually developing the structure for how I review tea books. So the tea books really felt like this is actually a piece of valuable work that I could put out to the industry to help people quickly sort through the dozens and dozens, potentially 100 books that are available, and just get straight to which ones are going to help me the most.
So you've touched on just the structure of your tea book reviews. So have you got some background in reviewing books or writing? Because I know for me, writing and getting that logical sense of reviewing is not easy.
Sure. Well, when I first started writing my thoughts down on the books, it was just more to help me keep track of what I read. So I kind of started off with just a very factual book report, just a couple sentences. This one covered history from this particular perspective, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't too long. The editing was done well. I just tried to stick with the facts, not so much opining about, did I think it was good or bad? I really just try to stick with the facts. And so as I developed the format for the book reviews, a lot of the ones that I've done in the last month or two have gone down to, what does this book cover? So specifically, what areas of interest are here? Is it a reference book? Is it more of a mindfulness, wellness book? What is this book good at? So if it's covering multiple things, its history section may be really weak, but maybe its section on recommendations for how to brew different styles of tea is really strong. So I try to pick out, what is this book good at? And then I will write about, what is this book not good at? So I'm not necessarily saying this book is good or bad. I'm saying it's strong in this area. It's not so strong in this other area. That keeps it pretty objective. I never say things like, oh, so-and-so is a horrible writer. I say things like, this book may have used some stronger editing. You know, just to keep it fair and objective. Yeah, you don't need to get personal. There's no need. And then I finished my review with basically recommending what type of reader I would recommend the book to. So is this something that would be good for a beginning tea enthusiast, an intermediate tea enthusiast, or someone in the business? Yeah, I mean, I kept a blog for a long time in the previous industry I worked in, and I was a management consultant for a long time, so I've done a lot of writing where you have to very quickly and logically explain, what are we talking about here? Here are the points we're covering. Okay, here's a wrap up. Did you get it? Awesome. So I think that just naturally comes out when I'm writing this review. I've read some other people's reviews on Goodreads for some of these tea books. Some of them were so long that it was almost like a Reader's Digest version of reading the book. And I was trying to avoid doing that. I'm not trying to read the book for you. I'm trying to help you make an informed decision about whether or not you want to read this book. That's all. This isn't like Siskel and Ebert, you know, this book gets 2 thumbs up. It had the best act. No, I just wanted to help you figure out whether or not you want to read it. That's it.
So when you decide to do your book reviews, do you have some sort of a review policy there for reviewing the books? I know out there in the tea blogging world, there is a bit of a policy that if you don't like the tea or if you really don't like the book, you don't review it. But what I have found is that when you're a new person in the industry and you're trying to look for resources, when a blogger hasn't covered a tea or they haven't looked at a book and there's nothing, they haven't reviewed it, it can be difficult to know whether they don't like it or they just haven't gotten around to it yet, where you have your star rating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've reviewed some books that I've given 1 star to, and where if I could give it 0 stars, I would have given it 0 stars. And you know, it's like, for one reason, and I keep it factual. You know, what is this? I always find something that's even good in the 1-star book. There's something it's good at. And then I say, like, the reason this book is 1 star is because it's really bad at what it set out to do. You know, I just try to be objective about, you know, hey, this book actually is good at this one thing, but it's really hard to follow, or none of the photographs were labeled, or the photographs were terrible quality, or, you know, there's always a very specific reason that I call out why the book is getting the review it's getting if it's less than 3 stars.
So you've read about 31 books now. What areas have you found to be lacking there for the tea enthusiast, that those books should be, more authors could be looking at covering for the tea enthusiast?
So I was just looking a little while ago before we jumped on this call, and I've read 31 tea books since November of 2017. I'd say the biggest gap in English language tea books is books that are about the actual agriculture and cultivation of tea. So that's a very big gap right now. Same thing with any information about any books that cover fine processing techniques. Like, that's covered, I'd say, in a very limited manner in a number of the books that are available now. For instance, the Camellia Sinensis Tea House book, Tea History, Terroirs, Varieties. It does have a lot of really excellent information, including full color photographs showing how tea is processed. But you wouldn't read that and then go and start processing your own tea from raw material. That's not what that book is for. Oh no, and as we both know, I mean, you could write down all the steps, and then the weather is slightly different, and you have to adjust all kinds of things, because that's the artistry that goes into the fine processing techniques. So it's hard to reduce it down, and I think that's also a big difference between the approach of the East and the West. Is in the West, we want to have everything reduced down to a flowchart of steps that you follow, and then it just comes out perfect. Like in food manufacturing, you can have all these quality assured processes, and then it comes out perfect. With specialty tea, there's so much nuance and adjustment and beautiful mistakes, as they say in Chinese. And then that's how you get, new flavors and aromas and types of tea. And it's hard to just reduce that down to simple practice. I have read the Tea History Terroirs Varieties book. That's on the top of my list of recommendations. It's just so thorough. I have Mary Heiss's book on my to read list, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
So just recently I did a video on tea books. There was 3 tea books that you could buy for under $100 to start your tea knowledge, because it's a question I'm asked a lot, is where can you go to learn more about tea? People don't want to pay a lot of money to begin, because one, they don't know whether they want to be in the industry, or they don't know if it's just going to be an enthusiast thing. So I suggested 3 books in my video for under $100. So have you got a suggestion on some books?
Okay. Well, I'd say even before they spent a single dollar on ebooks or anything, I would say take a look at any of the tea book reviews that you can get your hands on, mine or others, and go to your public library, because I've actually spent $0 so far. Well, actually, I bought Jane Pettigrew's brand new World of Tea book, which is like this thick, and I cannot wait to start reading it. But other than that, I haven't spent any money on any of the tea books yet. These are all books that I was able to get out of the public libraries around where I live in the San Francisco Bay. San Francisco Public Library, Oakland Public Library, Berkeley Public Library, and where I live in Alameda. And I was able to get physical books and ebooks.
Oh, you did so much better than me for $0.
But like I said, I did buy Jane's World of Tea, and I'm very excited about it. And I have a feeling, I read her book, The New Tea Companion, a few months ago, and I have a feeling that World of Tea is going to be much better and much more thorough in terms of exploring new terroirs and lesser known terroirs. But to answer your question specifically with regard to which 3 would I buy, I'd say definitely Tea History Terroirs Varieties by all the folks at Camellia Sinensis Tea House. There was another book that I really enjoyed reading very recently called The Art and Craft of Tea by Joseph Aul. And I really appreciated the objectivity that he used, and he really covered a lot of world tea traditions very nicely. And his section on tea brewing was, I think, one of the best that I've read, because it was not dogmatic at all. Yeah, so that was good. And then the third book, I would say the True History of Tea by Victor Mayer, which is a really good history book. It really takes you through the nuances of the entire story of tea, from very early China and like the misty, swirling mythologies, all the way up through the excitement of the Opium Wars and, everything that happened after that. And it's not totally dry. So a lot of history books, totally dry. This one, it was actually really fun to read. See if they have it at your library first. Always check first.
Actually, I have to say the public library isn't one I had thought about, and it certainly is a great resource here in Australia, well, in Melbourne anyway. Around the public libraries, they do conduct some free lessons in tea, and some of my friends have been out there doing lessons in different styles of tea, which is absolutely fantastic to have that resource there. So that's a hint for everyone. Consider the library and look up these books. Having this conversation, I'm going to catch up with you again in about a year's time to see how your progress as a tea enthusiast / professional is going. And by then I imagine you would have read a lot more books, and we can have a chat about if you still feel the same way about some of the books or some other books that you feel may be better.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you having me on and, chatting about this. It's a fascinating area, and I have dozens more books to read. I'm taking a little hiatus right now while I read some different material, but I'll be getting right back to tea books probably within the next month or so.
I will put a link below for Ella's website for you to go and check out and look at her reviews. As I said, I really enjoy her reviews. They're very objective. As she said, she tries to find what that book is actually good at. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give us a thumbs up. Please share with your friends, your tea friends. There's really great information and resource for tea lovers and tea addicts. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It's free. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.